The diner smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams at 2 in the morning. I'd worked the graveyard shift at Rosie's Corner for 3 years, and I knew the rhythm of this place like my own heartbeat. The hiss of the espresso machine, the flicker of the neon sign outside, the way the linoleum squeaked near booth 7. What I didn't know was how fast everything could change. I was wiping down the counter when the bell above the door chimed. 2 men walked in, and something in my chest tightened. Maybe it was the way they moved, too casual to aware. Or maybe it was the bulge under the taller one's jacket. "We're about to close," I said, keeping my voice steady. The shorter one smiled. "Gold tooth. Coffee's fine." I poured 2 cups with hands that didn't shake, because I'd learned a long time ago that showing fear was the fastest way to become prey. My foster care years had taught me that much. They sat at the counter, drank slow, watched me. The 3rd man came in without the bell making a sound. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car, and when he sat in the corner booth, the other 2 straightened. Not obviously, just a shift in their shoulders, a tightening around their eyes. I brought him water without asking. "Menu, just coffee." His voice was smoke and gravel, and when his eyes met mine, something electric shot down my spine. Dark eyes, unreadable, the kind of face that would haunt paintings, sharp cheekbones, a mouth that looked like it forgot how to smile years ago. Sure. I turned away, but I felt his gaze follow me like a physical touch. The bell chimed again. This time, everything slowed down. 4 men, leather jackets, dead eyes. The one in front pulled a gun. Everybody down, wallets, phones, jewelry now. My body moved on instinct, hands up, backing toward the register. The 2 men at the counter reached for their weapons, but the gunmen were faster. Shots cracked through the air like breaking bones. I hit the floor behind the counter, ears ringing, heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs would crack. More shots, shouting, the smell of gunpowder and coffee mixing into something nauseating. Then silence, not peaceful silence. The kind that comes after violence when the air itself is holding its breath. I lifted my head slowly. 3 of the gunmen were down. The 4th was running for the door. The 2 men from the counter were dead, blood pooling beneath them. And the man in the charcoal suit stood in the center of it all, gun in hand, breathing steady. His eyes found mine. "You hurt." I shook my head, unable to speak. He walked toward me, stepping over bodies like they were furniture. When he reached the counter, he holstered his weapon inside his jacket and extended a hand. I stared at it. His fingers were long, elegant, no blood on them, though death surrounded us. "Come out from there," he said quietly. I took his hand. The moment our skin touched, something shifted in the air, a recognition I couldn't name, shouldn't want. He pulled me up gently, his grip warm and solid. "What's your name?" "Elena." My voice came out raw. "Lena Reyes, Dante." He didn't give a last name. "You should leave before the police arrive." "I work here. I have to." "No." The word was soft but absolute. "You witnessed this. That makes you a target." "A target for what?" His thumb brushed across my knuckles, and I realized he was still holding my hand. "For whoever sent them." The door burst open. More men, but these were expensive suits. One of them spoke rapidly into a phone in Italian. Another started photographing the scene. Dante released my hand slowly, like he regretted it. "These are my people. They'll handle this." "Your people." I looked at the bodies, at him, at the efficiency of the men now filling my diner. Understanding crashed over me cold and complete. "You're careful." His voice dropped to something dangerous. "Some things are safer left unsaid." A tall man with silver at his temples approached. "Boss, we need to move. The Volkov crew will have heard about this within the hour." "Boss," my breath caught. Dante's eyes never left mine. "Take her somewhere safe." "No." I stepped back. "I'm not going anywhere with you. I'll talk to the police. Give a statement, and tell them what." His voice was gentle, almost kind. "That I killed 3 men. That you helped me." "I didn't. You gave me the opening I needed when you dropped behind the counter. You drew their attention away for the 2 seconds that kept me alive." He moved closer, and I smelled cedar and something darker, more complex. "Whether you meant to or not, Elena Reyes, you saved my life tonight. That means something in my world." "What world?" He smiled, and it was the saddest thing I'd ever seen. "One you should run from as fast as you can." But he was still standing close enough that I could feel the heat of him, and neither of us was moving. The silver-haired man cleared his throat. "Boss, I'm not leaving my life because some—" I stopped, searching for a word that wouldn't get me killed. "Mafia boss," Dante offered. "You can say it, it's what I am." The word hung between us like a verdict. "Go home, Elena. Lock your doors. Forget this happened." He turned and walked toward the exit, his men falling into formation around him. I should have let him leave. Instead, I called out, "The 4th one. The one who ran." He had a tattoo on his neck, 3 stars. Dante stopped, turned slowly. "You noticed that?" "I notice everything." Something changed in his expression, interest, maybe, or recognition. He walked back to me, close enough that I had to tilt my head to meet his eyes. "Smart," he murmured. "And dangerous." "I'm a waitress." "No." His hand came up, and I thought he might touch my face, but he stopped inches away. "You're much more than that." Then he was gone, and I was alone in a diner that smelled like death and had my fingerprints all over the counter. I sat in booth 7, shaking finally, and waited for the police. I gave my statement carefully. Robbery, shots fired. Men in suits arrived and took control. No, I didn't know their names. Yes, I was terrified. No, I didn't see anything useful. The detective didn't believe me, but he couldn't prove I was lying. I drove home at dawn, to my studio apartment above the Chinese restaurant on 5th, locked both deadbolts, closed the curtains, and tried not to think about dark eyes and the way my name had sounded in his voice. I failed. At exactly 8 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stay away from the diner today. You're being watched. I dropped the phone like it burned me. When I looked out the window, 10 black SUVs were parked on my street, and leaning against the first one, in perfect morning light, stood Dante. He looked up at my window like he knew exactly where I'd be, and smiled. I didn't go downstairs. For 20 minutes I stood at my window watching him watch my building. He didn't move, didn't check his phone, just waited with the patience of someone who had all the time in the world and knew I'd eventually break. He was right. I grabbed my keys and went down. The morning air was cold, carrying the smell of exhaust and the Chinese restaurant's breakfast prep. Dante straightened when I pushed through the front door, and his men, because of course all those SUVs were filled with his men, shifted almost imperceptibly. You have a lot of nerve, I said, stopping 10 feet away. I have 10 SUVs and 20 armed men. He slid his hands into his pockets. Nerve is the least of what I have. What do you want? To keep you alive. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Be parking an army outside my apartment. Real subtle. Subtlety died in your diner last night. He moved closer, and I forced myself not to retreat. The men who attacked, they weren't random. They were Volkov's crew, sent specifically for me. You were collateral damage waiting to happen. So you're what, my guardian angel now? No. Something flickered in his eyes. Angels don't do what I do. But I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. You became mine the moment you gave me that opening. The moment you memorized that tattoo and told me about it. He was close enough now that I could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow. In my world, debts matter. You saved my life, Alina. That means I owe you protection. I don't want it. What you want stopped being relevant when 3 bodies hit the floor of your workplace. A car passed, slowing slightly at the sight of the SUVs, then speeding up. Normal people, I thought. Going to normal jobs, living normal lives. I said, I have rent, bills, a life. Rosie's corner is closed indefinitely. Crime scene. He pulled out his phone, tapped something and showed me the screen. A bank notification. Your rent is paid for the next 6 months. Your bills are covered. I stared at the number. More money than I'd saved in 3 years. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? The question hung between us, loaded with meanings I couldn't untangle. To be left alone. Layar. The word was soft, almost gentle, and it hit harder than any shout. You don't know me, I said. I know you stayed calm during a robbery. I know you noticed details that trained soldiers would miss. I know you're scared right now, but you came downstairs anyway. He tilted his head slightly. I know you're alone in this city, and you've been alone for a long time, and you've convinced yourself that's strength. My throat tightened. Stop. Make me. We stood there, locked in some invisible battle that had nothing to do with guns or money or debt. A door opened in one of the SUVs. The silver-haired man from last night stepped out. Boss, we have a situation. The Volkov family wants a meeting. Dante's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away from me. When? Neutral ground. Tell them I'll be there. Finally, he broke eye contact, turning to his man. And double the detail here. No one gets within a block of this building. You can't just... I started. I can. He looked back at me, and the ruthlessness I'd seen in the diner flickered across his features. I will. You don't get a vote in this, Elena. Because you're... He stopped. Took a breath. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Rougher. Because I've seen what they do to witnesses. To people who get in their way, and I won't let that happen to you. Why? The question seemed to catch him off guard. I don't know, he said finally, and the honesty in it shook something loose in my chest. The silver-haired man cleared his throat. Boss. Dante reached into his jacket and I flinched. He noticed, and something like pain crossed his face before he pulled out a phone, not his, a different one. My number's programmed in. Only mine. You see anything suspicious, anything at all, you call me? I took it automatically. I already have a phone. That one can be traced, hacked. This one is encrypted. He closed my fingers around it, his hand warm over mine. Keep it on you? For how long? Until this is over? When will that be? He pulled his hand back slowly. I don't know that either. Then he was moving toward his SUV, his men falling into formation like a well-oiled machine. He paused at the door. Stay inside today, please. The please surprised me. He got in and the convoy pulled away in perfect synchronization, leaving behind only the faint smell of expensive cologne and the weight of the phone in my hand. I went back upstairs and stared at the encrypted phone for an hour. Then I made the mistake of turning on the news. Shooting at Rosie's Corner Diner left 3 dead early this morning. Police are investigating what appears to be gang-related violence. The owner had no comment and the sole employee on duty, Elena Reyes, gave a statement, but I turned it off. My name, on the news, connected to a mafia execution. The phone Dante gave me buzzed. Don't watch the news. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Don't open your door for anyone except the man I'm sending with lunch. His name is Marcus. He's 6'4", bald, has a scar through his left eyebrow. Anyone else, you call me immediately. I type back, this is insane. This is necessary. I didn't ask for this. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I know. I'm sorry. The apology did something to me. Made him human. Made this real in a way it hadn't been before. At 12:30 there was a knock. I looked through the peephole. 6'4", bald, scar through the left eyebrow. I opened the door. Marcus handed me a bag from the Italian place downtown. The expensive one I'd never been able to afford. Boss said you probably haven't eaten. He's very presumptuous. He's very thorough. Marcus's expression was neutral. I'll be in the hallway. You need anything, just open the door. You're going to stand in the hallway all day. That's the job. He took up position outside my door, and I was left with gourmet pasta and the strangest feeling, not quite fear, not quite anger, something closer to anticipation. The phone buzzed again. How's the carbonara? I looked at the container. Carbonara, stalker, guardian, same thing, not even close. Eat. You'll need your strength. For what? For when I come back tonight. My heart did something complicated. Why? Because we need to talk. And because I can't seem to stay away. I stared at that last sentence until the screen went dark. Outside, the city hummed with its normal chaos, but in my apartment, everything had shifted. I ate the carbonara. It was perfect. I hated that I noticed. Dante arrived at 10 p.m. alone. I'd spent the day pacing, ignoring calls from Rosie's insurance company and researching his name online. Dante Caruso, heir to the Caruso family. Suspected involvement in racketeering, money laundering, and 3 murders that were never prosecuted. Age 33, no known relationships. The Wikipedia rabbit hole made him seem like a monster. The man who knocked softly on my door and waited for permission to enter seemed like something else entirely. Marcus let you through, I said, opening the door. Marcus works for me. He stepped inside, and my small studio suddenly felt microscopic. He looked around at my second-hand furniture, my books stacked against the wall, the single window with its view of the alley. It's not much, I said, defensive. It's yours. He touched the spine of a worn copy of Jane Eyre on my makeshift bookshelf. That matters. Did you come here to critique my decorating? I came here to explain. He turned, and in the dim light from my single lamp, his face looked different, tired, human. And to give you a choice. What choice? To walk away from this. For me, he moved to the window looking out at nothing. I can arrange new identification. A new city. Enough money to start over. The Volkovs won't find you if I don't want them to. My chest tightened. You'd do that? Yes. Why? He was quiet for a long moment. Because you shouldn't have to live in my world. You didn't choose this. And if I stay... He turned sharply, eyes searching mine. Then you need to understand what that means. No half measures. No illusions. He crossed the room, stopping close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. If you stay, you're under my protection. That means my enemies become your enemies. My wars become your wars. My darkness becomes mine. I finished. Less. I should have been terrified. Every logical cell in my brain screamed at me to take the out he was offering. New life, new name. Safety. But I thought about his hand on mine in the diner. The way he'd said my name. The carbonara. The softness under all that steel. I need to know something first, I said. Ask. Those men last night. Did you know they were coming? I suspected. The Volkovs have been pushing into my territory for months. Last night was their opening move. His voice was matter of fact, like discussing the weather. I went to your diner because it's neutral ground. I didn't expect them to hit so fast or so sloppy. And the 2 men at the counter, my soldiers, they gave their lives protecting me. Something flickered across his face, grief maybe, or guilt. Giuseppe had a daughter. Marco was engaged. I'm sorry. He looked at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. You're sorry? They died because of me? They died because someone attacked them. That's not the same thing. And my world, it is. I stepped closer, driven by an instinct I didn't understand. Then your world is wrong. The words hung between us, dangerous and true. Dante's hand came up slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his fingers brushed my cheek, barely a touch. You're not what I expected, he said quietly. What did you expect? Fear. Disgust. The kind of judgment I deserve. His thumb traced my jawline and I felt the touch everywhere. Not this. What is this? I don't know. His voice dropped to something raw. But it's dangerous. For both of us. I'm not afraid of danger anymore. You should be. Especially of me. But he didn't move away, and neither did I. The meeting with the Volkovs. I said. What happened? His hand fell away and I immediately missed the contact. They want compensation for their dead soldiers, territory. A sign of weakness. What did you give them? Nothing. He moved back to the window, creating distance. I told them if they come after me again, I'll burn their operations to the ground. That sounds like starting a war. The war started when they walked into your diner. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet pouch. This was Giuseppe's. He always carried it. I opened the pouch. A silver medallion fell into my palm. St. Christopher, patron saint of travelers. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to understand what's at stake. These aren't just soldiers to me. They're men with families, with hopes. He looked at me, and the weight of command sat heavy on his features. And I'll still sacrifice every single one of them to keep you safe. That's the kind of man I am. The confession should have horrified me. Instead, it made something click into place. You're trying to scare me away, I said. Yes. It's not working. Elena, I spent 18 years in foster care. I know what real monsters look like. I crossed to him, the medallion warm in my hand. You're not one of them. You don't know what I've done. You're right. And maybe I don't want to know everything. I held out the medallion. But I know you're carrying this. I know you remember their names. I know you came here to give me a choice instead of just making it for me. He took the medallion, his fingers brushing mine. Those things don't absolve me. I'm not offering absolution, I'm offering. I stopped, not sure how to name it. What? His voice was barely above a whisper. A chance. The air between us felt electric, alive. If you stay, he said slowly, things will get worse before they get better. The Volkovs won't stop. Other families will see you as leverage. You'll have to leave this apartment, your job, everything familiar. I left everything familiar when I aged out of foster care at 18. I know how to adapt. This is different. I know. He searched my face like he was looking for cracks, for the moment I'd break. He wouldn't find it. Okay, he said finally. Okay? Okay, I can stay. Okay, I'll stop trying to push you away. He stepped closer, and something in his expression shifted, became predatory, possessive. But you need to understand something, Elena. If you're mine to protect, then you're mine. I don't share. I don't compromise, and I sure as hell don't let go. My breath caught. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. The distinction seemed important. His phone buzzed. He checked it, and his jaw tightened. Go. There's a situation at the docks. Will you? I stopped, not wanting to sound needy. Come back. He moved to the door, paused. Yes, tomorrow morning. Pack what matters. You're moving? Where? He smiled, and it was sharp as broken glass. Somewhere I can keep you close. Then he was gone, and I was alone with the saint's medallion and the echo of a promise that felt like a claim. I should have been terrified. I was exhilarated. The penthouse was obscene, floor to ceiling windows overlooking the city. Marble everything. Art that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. A kitchen bigger than my entire apartment. This is where you live. I set my duffel bag down in the entrance, feeling deeply out of place. Dante shrugged off his jacket, revealing shoulder holsters and the gun I'd first seen in the diner. When I'm not at the estate, this is easier. More secure. More secure than what? Than the family compound in Westchester. He crossed to a hidden panel, pressed his palm against it. The wall slid open, revealing monitors showing every angle of the building. 12 cameras. Biometric locks. Bulletproof windows. And my men on every floor. You really think the Volkovs will come here? I think they'll try. He tapped one of the screens. Your room is down that hall. Second door on the left. Private bathroom. The closet is stocked. Stocked with what? Everything you'll need. I walked down the hall, opened the door, and stopped breathing. The room was bigger than my old apartment. The bed was king-sized with silk sheets. The closet, when I opened it, contained clothes in my exact size. Jeans, dresses, shoes, lingerie that made me blush. How did you? Thorough. Dan appeared in the doorway. If something doesn't fit, tell me. I pulled out a black dress, simple and elegant. Probably cost $1,000. This is too much. It's necessary you be attending functions with me. You need to look the part. What part? Mine. The word sent electricity down my spine. I never agreed to be arm candy for your mafia events. No, you agreed to let me protect you. He moved into the room and I was hyper-aware of the bed between us. Part of that protection is visibility. If they see you with me, untouchable, it sends a message. What message? That you're under my protection. That harming you means war. I hung the dress back up carefully. And what do I do at these functions? Smile and look pretty. You do exactly what you've been doing. Be yourself. Be smart. Be observant. He smiled slightly. You'd be surprised how much people reveal when they think you're just decoration. So I'm a spy now. You're my eyes in rooms where I can't show weakness. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne, cedar, and something darker. Can you do that? The challenge in his voice made me lift my chin. Wes. Good. He turned to leave, paused. Dinner's at 7. We're having guests. What guests? My underboss, my consigliere, and my cousin who runs the financial operations. His expression was unreadable. They need to meet you. Understand that you're not just some girl I'm protecting. What am I then? He looked at me for a long moment. I'm still figuring that out. Dinner was a masterclass in controlled violence. The dining room could seat 20. Tonight, it seated 5. Dante at the head, me to his right. 3 men who watched me like I was a bomb that might detonate. Gentlemen, Dante said, pouring wine like this was a normal dinner party. This is Elena. She'll be staying here indefinitely. The silver-haired man from the diner. The is Reyes. It's just... Elena witnessed the Volkov attack. Dante continued. She also provided intelligence that led us to identify the crew. The cousin, a lean man with wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward. The 3 stars tattoo. We traced it to Mikhail Volkov's personal guard. He's missing, by the way. Dead, I asked before I could stop myself. The consigliere, a man who looked like a college professor, smiled coldly. But he's wishing he was. Danny's hand found mine under the table, squeezed once. Warning or comfort, I couldn't tell. The Volkovs will retaliate for their losses, the underboss said. They always do. The girl is a liability. The girl has a name, I said sharply. And I'm sitting right here. Silence fell. Then the underboss laughed. Actually laughed. She's got spine, I'll give you that, boss. She's got more than spine. Dante's thumb traced circles on my palm under the table. She's resourceful, intelligent, and she saved my life. That earns respect. It earns protection. The consigliere corrected. Respect is something else. Then she'll earn it. Dant released my hand, picked up his wine. Just like I did. The cousin adjusted his glasses. The Volkovs requested another meeting, tomorrow night. Neutral ground again. What do they want? To negotiate. They're claiming the attack was unauthorized. A rogue crew. Do we believe that? I asked. 4 pairs of eyes turned to me. What makes you think they're lying? The consigliere asked, genuinely curious. I thought about the men in the diner. Their precision, their targeting, the way they moved. It wasn't chaos, it was coordinated. Someone sent them specifically for Dante. She's right, the underboss said. This was sanctioned from the top. Dante leaned back in his chair. So they're lying about it being rogue. Which means they're trying to save face while planning their next move. Or gathering intelligence on our response. The cousin added. What happens at these meetings? I asked. We talk. We posture. We measure each other's weaknesses. Dante's voice was casual, but his eyes were hard, and we decide if we can coexist or if we need to go to war. Can you coexist? He smiled, and it wasn't kind. Not anymore. The meal continued with talk of territories, shipments, and politicians who needed persuading. I listened, filed away names and connections, and tried not to think about what persuading meant in this context. After dinner, the men left, and Dante walked me back to my room. You did well tonight, he said. I asked too many questions. You asked the right questions. He stopped at my door. My men respect strength, not silence. You showed them you're not afraid. I am afraid. I know. His hand came up, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. But you didn't show it. That's the difference between surviving and thriving in this world. I wanted to ask him how he survived, what it cost him, whether he ever wanted something different. Instead I said, the meeting tomorrow. Will it be dangerous? Every meeting is dangerous. Will you come back? He smiled slightly. Always. I told you, Alina. You're mine to protect. That's not a responsibility I take lightly. Is that all I am? A responsibility? The question hung between us, heavy with things we weren't saying. Downey stepped closer, crowding me against the door frame. No, you're something much more complicated than that. Like what? Like a problem I can't solve. A weakness I can't afford. A desire I shouldn't have. His voice dropped to rough velvet. And a choice I keep making anyway. My heart hammered against my ribs. Dante? His phone buzzed. He checked it, swore softly in Italian. I have to go. There's been an incident at one of our warehouses. Now. He pulled away and I felt the absence like cold water. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Then he was gone, and I was alone in a gilded cage, wondering when protection started feeling like possession, and why I didn't mind. The warehouse fire made the morning news. I watched from the penthouse, coffee growing cold in my hands, as reporters described the suspicious blaze that destroyed a shipping facility near the docks. No casualties, they said, heavy damage. Arson suspected. Dante hadn't come back. I checked my phone, the encrypted one, for the 100th time. Nothing. At 10 a.m., Marcus knocked. Boss wants you ready in an hour. Wear the navy dress. Ready for what? The meeting with the Volkovs. My blood went cold. He's taking me. He wants you visible. Public did. Marcus's expression was grave. It's a power play. Against who? Everyone. The navy dress fit perfectly, conservative neckline, but the fabric clung in ways that made me look expensive. Dangerous. Someone who belonged next to a man like Dante Caruso. I hated how much I liked the transformation. A car arrived at 11. Not an SUV, a town car, sleek and black. Downey was already inside. He looked exhausted. Shadows under his eyes, jaw tight. But when he saw me, something shifted in his expression. You look. He stopped, started again. Perfect. I slid in beside him. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. He reached for my hand, laced our fingers together like it was the most natural thing in the world. The warehouse was a message. They're escalating. Was anyone hurt? 2 of my men were supposed to be there. I pulled them an hour before the fire. His thumb traced circles on my palm. If I hadn't, but you did. This time. The car pulled into traffic, flanked by SUVs. Dante's hand was warm in mine, grounding. Why are you bringing me to this meeting? I asked. Because keeping you hidden makes you a secret. Secrets are leverage. He looked at me, and the intensity in his gaze made my breath catch. But if they see you with me, if they understand that you're under my protection publicly, you become untouchable. Or a bigger target. Not if they understand the cost of touching you. Which is everything they have. The certainty in his voice should have been frightening. It wasn't. The meeting was at an upscale restaurant, closed for a private event. Dante's men swept the building first. I waited in the car, watching him direct operations with the precision of a general. When he returned, he helped me out personally, his hand on the small of my back. Stay close, he murmured. Don't speak unless I signal. And whatever happens, don't show fear. I thought fear was smart. It is. But showing it is weakness. The restaurant's interior was all dark wood and dim lighting. At the center table, 3 men waited. I recognized the middle one from Dante's intelligence files I'd glimpsed. Victor Volkov, older, heavy with eyes like a shark. Caruso. Victor stood, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You brought a guest. I brought my future. Dante's hand tightened on my back, possessive. Elena, this is Victor Volkov. I extended my hand like I'd seen in movies. Victor took it, held it a moment too long. Charming, he said. I wasn't aware you were seeing anyone. There's a lot you don't know about me, Victor. We sat. The tension was thick enough to choke on. About the unfortunate incident at your diner, Victor began, spreading his hands. A terrible misunderstanding. The men responsible have been disciplined. Disciplined. Dana repeated. That's an interesting word for what you did to them. They acted without orders. Attacked a neutral location. Killed your men without provocation. Victor's smile was oil slick. Surely you understand we had to respond. I understand you're lying. The air crystallized. Victor's men shifted. Dante's hand found my thigh under the table. Steady pressure. Warning, careful. Caruso, or what? You'll burn another warehouse. Dante leaned forward. I know about the accelerant signatures. Military grade. Not something rogue soldiers have access to. You can't prove that. I don't need to prove anything. I know. Dante's voice dropped to something lethal. And if you come at me again, I won't wait for proof. I'll burn your entire operation to ash and salt the earth behind it. I felt the violence in him like a living thing. Barely leashed. Victor's eyes flicked to me. And her, what is she to you really? A waitress who got lucky. She's under my protection. For now, Victor smiled. But accidents happen, Caruso. You can't watch her every moment. Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. 1 second he was sitting. The next, his gun was pressed under Victor's chin. Touch her, Dante said quietly. And I'll kill everyone you've ever loved. Your wife. Your children. Your grandchildren. I'll make it slow. I'll make it hurt. And I'll make sure you watch before I put a bullet in your brain. The entire restaurant held its breath. Victor's men reached for weapons. Dante's men did the same. I sat frozen, caught in the eye of a storm about to break. Dante, I said softly. His eyes never left Victor. Not now, Elena. Dante, please. Something in my voice reached him. He lowered the gun slowly, holstered it, sat back down. His hand found mine under the table, squeezed hard enough to hurt. Victor straightened his tie, face red. This meeting is over. Agreed. Dante stood, pulling me up with him. Next time you want to talk, Victor, make sure you actually want to talk. Not posture. We walked out surrounded by his men, a moving fortress. In the car, Danny's hand was still crushing mine. He was shaking. Dante, I almost killed him. His voice was raw. In front of you, in front of witnesses. I almost started a war because he looked at you wrong. But you didn't. Only because you stopped me. I turned to face him. Then I'm glad I was there. He looked at me like I was something precious and terrifying. This is what I am, Elena. This violence. This rage, this. I kissed him. Not gentle, not soft. Desperate and claiming and real. He froze for a heartbeat, then his hands were in my hair, angling my head, deepening the kiss until I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel. When we broke apart, we were both shaking. Elena, don't. I pressed my fingers to his lips. Don't apologize. Don't pull away. Don't tell me this is a mistake. It is a mistake. Then make it again. He did, this time slower, deliberate, like he was memorizing the taste of me. His hands cradled my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones, and the tenderness in the gesture broke something open in my chest. He deserved better than this. He whispered against my lips. I deserve to choose. And you choose this. This life. Me. I choose you. The words came out fierce, certain. However complicated. However dangerous. I choose you. His forehead pressed against mine. God help us both. The car pulled up to the penthouse. We sat there, foreheads touching, breathing each other's air, while the world spun on without us. Finally, Dante pulled back. Come on. We need to talk about security protocols. Romantic doc. I'm trying to keep you alive. I know. I followed him inside. That's why I kissed you. He stopped at the elevator, looked back. That's why you kissed me. Because I threatened people for you. Because you stopped. Because I asked you to and you listened. Understanding flickered across his face. That's a low bar, Elena. You'd be surprised how many men don't clear it. The elevator ride up was silent, charged. When we reached the penthouse, Dante's phone buzzed. He checked it. Swore. What? The Volkovs just hit 3 of our operations simultaneously. When? While we were in that restaurant. He was already moving, grabbing weapons, calling orders. It was a distraction. Victor never intended to negotiate. What do you need me to do? He turned, and the look on his face was pure anguish. Stay here. Stay safe. Don't open the door for anyone. Dante, please. He crossed to me, cupped my face. I can't fight them if I'm worried about you. I can't think if I'm terrified something will happen to you, so please, Elena. Please stay here. I nodded, throat tight. He kissed me once more, brief, almost bruising, and then he was gone. And I was alone, learning that choosing him meant living with the constant terror of losing him. He didn't come back for 2 days, 48 hours of watching news reports, pacing marble floors, and trying not to imagine him dead. Marcus brought food I couldn't eat. The encrypted phone stayed silent. I was going insane. On the morning of the third day I heard the elevator. I was across the penthouse before it fully opened. And then Dante was there, alive, whole, exhausted, and I was in his arms before either of us could think. "You're okay." I breathed into his neck. "You're okay." His arms tightened around me. "I'm sorry. You should have come back." I couldn't. The Volkovs. He pulled back just enough to look at me. "It's handled. For now." That's when I saw the blood on his shirt. "You're hurt." "It's nothing?" "That's not nothing." I pulled him toward the bathroom. "Set. Elena, sit down, Dante." He sat. I found the first aid kit, of course he had a professional grade first aid kit, and started unbuttoning his shirt. My hands shook. "Hey." His fingers covered mine. "I'm fine. You're bleeding." "Superficial. I've had worse." That didn't make me feel better. I finished unbuttoning his shirt, pushed it off his shoulders, and stopped breathing. "Scars. Dozens of them. Some old and silver, some newer and pink. A map of violence written on his skin. "This is your life," I whispered. "Less." I traced a particularly nasty scar across his ribs. "What happened here?" "Knife fight. 3 years ago. And this." A bullet scar on his shoulder. "Ambush. 5 years ago. There were more. So many more." "Does it hurt?" "Not anymore." His hand caught mine, pressed it over his heart. "This is what hurts. Knowing you're seeing what I am. What I've done." I felt his heartbeat under my palm, strong, steady, alive. "I don't see a monster," I said. "Then you're not looking close enough." I cleaned the fresh wound, a graze across his side, shallow but angry, and bandaged it carefully. He watched me the entire time, silent. "Why didn't you call?" I asked finally. "Because I didn't want you to hear it in my voice." "Hear what?" "How close it was. How many men I lost. How much I wanted to." He stopped, jaw tight. "Wanted to what?" "Come back to you, leave the whole damn thing and just come back." The confession hung between us. "But you didn't." "No. Because I'm responsible for 200 people. Their families, their lives." He stood, winced. "I don't get to just walk away." "I'm not asking you to. Aren't you?" He turned, and the raw need in his eyes made my breath catch. "Because you should. You should ask me to choose you over this. Over them. You should make me want to be someone different." "I don't want you different. I want you safe." "Those aren't the same thing." He moved to the window, staring out at the city. I joined him close enough to feel his warmth. "Tell me what happened," I said quietly. So he did. The coordinated attacks, the warehouse fires, the ambush that caught 3 of his men, the brutal negotiations that followed, the bodies, the blood, the choices between bad options and worse ones. He told it clinically detached, like he was reporting on someone else's life. Until he got to the part where one of his youngest soldiers, 22, engaged, expecting his first child, had died in his arms. His voice broke then. "I promised his fiancée I'd take care of them. The baby, her everything. But what's the point?" He pressed his palms against the glass. "I'll just get him killed too eventually. Everyone around me." "Stop." I turned him to face me. "That's not true." "It is true, Giuseppe." "Marco. Tommy? How many more, Alina? How many more names before you understand what I am?" "A man trying to protect people in an impossible situation. A killer. Laz." I didn't flinch from it. "And also someone who remembers their names. Who takes care of their families. Who breaks when they die. That doesn't absolve me. I'm not offering absolution. I'm offering understanding." He looked at me like I was speaking a language he'd forgotten. "Why?" "Because you stopped. When I asked, you stopped. That's everything." I stepped closer. "That's everything, Dante. The ability to choose differently. To control the violence instead of letting it control you." His hands came up, framing my face. "You see something in me that isn't there. Or you refuse to see something that is." We stood there, foreheads touching, breathing each other's air. He admitted finally, "I'm so tired, Alina. Of the violence, of the choices, of being responsible for everything and everyone. Then rest. If I stop, not stop. Here with me. For just a little while." Something in him cracked. I saw it happen, the careful walls crumbling, the exhaustion winning. "Just for a little while." He agreed. I led him to the couch. He sat heavily and I settled beside him. He pulled me close, and I felt the moment he let go, his body relaxing, his breath evening out. "Talk to me," he murmured. "About anything. Something normal." So I told him about foster care. About the 12 homes in 10 years. About learning to pack light and read people and never get too attached. About the social worker who finally helped me get emancipated at 17. About working my way through community college while waitressing. About building a life from nothing. He listened, really listened, his hand stroking my hair absently. "You're stronger than me," he said finally. "No, you are. You survived without becoming." "Without becoming what?" "Hard, dangerous." I laughed softly. "Dante, I'm all of those things. I just hide it better." His chest rumbled with quiet laughter. "Maybe that's why I can't stay away from you. You understand." "Understand what?" "What it costs. To survive. To keep going when everything in you wants to quit." I turned in his arms, looked up at him. "Is that what you want? To quit?" "Sometimes, and then I think about." He stopped. "What?" "You." His hand cupped my cheek. "Coming back to you. Making sure you're safe. Seeing this look in your eyes, like maybe I'm not completely damned." "You're not. You can't know that. I know you, Dante Caruso. And whatever else you are, you're not damned. He kissed me then, soft and searching, like I was a question he didn't know how to ask. When we broke apart, his eyes were heavy. Sleep, I said. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise. Promise. He fell asleep with his head in my lap, and I sat there stroking his hair. This dangerous man who'd killed for me, threatened for me, and somehow become essential to my breathing. Outside, the war continued. Inside, for just a little while, we had peace. The truth came 3 days later, delivered by a manila folder on Dante's desk. I wasn't supposed to see it. I was looking for a phone charger and opened the wrong drawer. My name was on the tab. Ilan Arroas Bisikejiro Nchike. My hands shook as I opened it. Everything was there. Every foster home, every incident report, every time I'd run away, every detail of my life laid out in clinical typeface. And at the bottom, dated 2 days before the diner attack, subject cleared for contact. Threat level minimal. Potential use, unknown, cleared for contact. Before the attack, the folder slipped from my fingers. Elena. I spun. Dante stood in the doorway, still in his suit from the morning meeting, and the guilt on his face told me everything. You knew. I whispered. You knew who I was before that night. It's not. Don't. My voice cracked. Don't lie to me. Not now. He moved into the room slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. I had you investigated. Standard protocol for anyone who works near my regular routes. Standard protocol. I laughed, hollow. Is that what I am? Protocol? God, no. He reached for me. I stepped back. His hand fell. I investigate everyone, Elena. The cook at the diner. The night manager. The cleaning crew. Anyone who could be a threat or an asset. And which was I? Neither. You were just... He ran a hand through his hair. You were nobody. A waitress. No connections. No debt. No leverage. Just someone trying to survive. To you decided what? To use me anyway. No, I decided you were safe to ignore. His voice was raw. And then the attack happened and you saved my life and everything changed. When? I demanded. When did you decide to bring me into this? The moment you dropped behind that counter. The moment you looked at me with those eyes and I saw. He stopped. Saw what? Myself. 10 years ago. Before all this. When I still thought I could be something different. The honesty in it hurt worse than any lie. You should have told me, I said. When? When you were in shock in your apartment. When you were agreeing to let me protect you. When you were... He stopped, jaw tight. When I was what? Kissing you, falling for you? The words hung between us like an accusation. Yes, he said quietly. Especially then. Because it changes things, doesn't it? I wanted to say no. Wanted to believe that the file didn't matter. That what we'd built was real despite the foundation of surveillance and investigation. But I kept seeing those words, potential use unknown. Did you plan it? I asked. The attack. His head snapped up. What? Did you know they were coming? Did you use me as... No. He crossed to me in 3 strides, grabbed my shoulders. Never. I would never risk you like that. The attack was real. Your danger was real. Everything after was me trying to protect you from consequences of that night. Or trying to control me. His hands tightened. Maybe at first. But then what? Then you became real. His voice dropped to something broken. You stopped being a file, a responsibility, a debt. You became the person I thought about every second. The face I saw when I closed my eyes. The reason I came back from situations I should have died in. Pretty words. True words. He released me, stepped back. You want to leave, leave. The offer I made still stands. New identity, new city, money, protection from a distance. I'll make sure the Volkovs never find you. Just like that. Just like that. And you. I'll survive. I always do. I looked at him, this man who'd investigated me, protected me, claimed me. Who'd killed for me and held me while he slept. Who'd somehow become essential to my breathing despite every logical reason to run. Show me the rest, I said. The rest of the file. If you investigated me, you investigated everyone. Show me what else you're hiding. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear maybe. He opened a drawer, pulled out another folder. This one was thicker. Velkove Arganitime Asitiras. I opened it. The first page was a photograph. Viktor Volkov shaking hands with a man in a police uniform. They own half the police department, Dante said quietly. And a quarter of City Hall. That's why I can't just go to the authorities. That's why this has to be handled my way. The next page, a list of businesses. Legitimate ones. Restaurants. Dry cleaners, dake. France. Dante explained. Money laundering operations. But also places where real people work. People who don't know what's happening in the back room. More pages. More photos. A web of corruption and violence that stretched across the entire city. And then I saw it. A photograph of Rosie's Corner Diner. Circled in red. They've been watching the diner for months, Dante said. They knew I stopped there. They were planning something, we just didn't know what. You knew they were watching, and you still went there. I thought I was careful enough. His voice was bleak. I thought I could have one normal thing. One place where I was just a guy who liked decent coffee. And I was collateral damage. You were never supposed to be involved. I flipped more pages. Found surveillance photos of myself walking to work, leaving my apartment, grocery shopping. These aren't from you, I said slowly. No. Those are Volkov's surveillance. They've been watching you since the attack. My blood ran cold. How long have you known? Since day 2. That's why I moved you here, why I wanted you visible and protected. He moved beside me, pointed to a date stamp. This was taken yesterday. Even with you here, they're still watching. Why? Because they know the fastest way to hurt me is through you. The truth of it settled in my chest like lead. This is my life now, I said. Not just protection. Not just safety. Permanent surveillance. Permanent war? Less! And you knew that when you brought me here? Less. I closed the folder carefully. What else are you hiding? His jaw tightened. Elena, what else? He pulled out a third folder. He didn't open, just held it. The night Giuseppe and Marco died, he said quietly. I didn't just suspect the Volkovs would hit. I knew. The air left my lungs. I sent them anyway. Because I needed to know if the intelligence was good. If our source was reliable. His voice was hollow. I sent 2 good men to die to test information. Dante. And it was worth it. Because the information was good. Because it led us to the Volkov supply lines, to their shipping routes, to everything we needed to hit them back. He looked at me finally, and his eyes were dead. So yes, I sacrificed them. Knowingly. And I'd do it again. The monster I'd been refusing to see finally showed its face. This is who I am, he said. Not the man who holds you at night. Not the man who kisses you like your oxygen. This calculating, ruthless, necessary evil. I should have run. Instead, I asked, did their families get the compensation you promised? He blinked, surprised. What? Giuseppe's daughter. Marco's fiancé, did you take care of them? Yes. Full pensions. The baby will have trust fund for college. Marco's fiancé has a job in one of our legitimate businesses. Then you kept your promise. That doesn't make it right. No, I moved closer to him, but it makes it human. Complicated. Real. You should hate me. I should. I took the folder from his hand, set it on the desk, but I understand the choices you make, the calculations, the sacrifices. How can you possibly? Because I've made them too. Different scale, different stakes, but the same math. I thought about the foster homes I'd left behind, the kids I couldn't save, the compromises I'd made to survive. We're not so different, you and me. Yes, we are. You're good, Alina. Fundamentally, essentially good. And you think you're not. I know I'm not. I cupped his face, made him look at me. Then why are you confessing? Why show me these files? Why not just keep lying? Because I can't. The words came out broken. Because you deserve the truth. Because I need you to see what I am before. Before what? Before I can't let you go. The admission hung between us, raw and real. What if I don't want to go? Then you're a fool. Probably. I kissed him softly. But I'm your fool. He pulled me close, buried his face in my hair, and I felt the shudder that went through him. This won't end well, he whispered. Maybe not. But it's real. Yes. His arms tightened. God help us, it's real. Outside, the war continued. Inside, we chose each other anyway, knowing the cost, accepting the price. The attack came at dawn. I was asleep in Dante's bed. We'd stopped pretending I needed my own room 3 nights ago, when the first explosion shook the building. Dante was up instantly, gun in hand, phone already dialing. Talk to me. I heard Marcus's voice through the speaker. Breach on floor 22. Armed assault team. At least 10 hostiles, they're coming up. How long? 5 minutes. Maybe less. Dante was already moving, pulling on clothes, checking weapons. Elena, listen carefully. There's a panic room behind the bookshelf in my office. Biometric lock. Your palm is already programmed. What about you? I'm buying you time. He grabbed my hand, pulled me to the office, pressed my palm to the hidden scanner. The bookshelf swung open, revealing a reinforced steel room with monitors, supplies, and an arsenal. Jet inside. Lock it. Don't come out until I give the all clear. Dante, please. He kissed me hard, desperate. Please, Elena. I can't fight if I'm worried about you. I grabbed his face, made him meet my eyes. Come back to me. Always. He pushed me inside gently, and the door sealed shut. Through the monitors, I watched hell arrive. They came in tactical formation, professional, efficient. Not Volkov's usual street soldiers, these were trained killers. Dante's men met them on floor 30. The firefight was brutal, immediate. I watched men fall on both sides. Watched Dana move through it all like a dark angel, precise and lethal. But there were too many. Boss. We're being flanked. Marcus called over comms. They've got another team coming up the service elevator. Fall back to the penthouse. Defensive positions. I watched them retreat in organized chaos, leaving bodies behind. The assault team followed. The penthouse became a war zone. Gunfire shattered the floor, tip-ceiling windows. My beautiful view of the city disappeared in a spray of bulletproof glass and smoke. Dante's men took positions behind furniture, marble columns, anything that could provide cover. And Dante was everywhere, covering his men. Making split-second decisions. Taking shots that shouldn't have been possible. He moved like violence incarnate, and I finally understood what he'd been trying to tell me. This was what he was. Not the man who held me tenderly. The killer who'd survived 2 decades in this world by being better, faster, more ruthless than everyone else. Then I saw the second team. They'd breached through a service entrance I didn't know existed, coming in behind Dante's men. Behind you. I screamed even though he couldn't hear me, but Marcus could. He saw them, shouted a warning, and threw himself between Dante and the incoming fire. 3 bullets hit him. He went down hard. Marcus. Dante returned fire, dropped 2 attackers, dragged Marcus behind a column. Through the monitors I watched him try to stop the bleeding. Watched Marcus say something. Watched Dante's face crumble, then Marcus stopped moving. Something in me snapped. I opened the panic room door. "Elena, what are you?" Dante's voice through the comms, sharp with fear. I didn't answer. I grabbed the smallest gun from the panic room arsenal. I'd grown up in bad neighborhoods. I knew how to shoot and moved into the penthouse. The smoke was thick. The smell of gunpowder overwhelming. Bodies littered the floor. I spotted an attacker taking aim at Dante's exposed back. I fired. The man dropped. Down he spun, saw me, and for a split second, his face showed pure terror. Then he was moving, crossing the space between us in seconds, pushing me behind cover. "What the hell are you doing?" "Saving your life." I reloaded, muscle memory from foster dad number 7, who'd taught me to shoot tin cans. "You're welcome. You were supposed to stay safe, hidden." I looked at Marcus's body. Something shifted in his eyes. Not approval exactly. Understanding. "Stay close," he said. "And when I say down, you go down. No arguments." Agreed. We fought side by side. I'd like to say I was good at it. That adrenaline made me capable. The truth was messier. I was terrified, shaking, and probably hit nothing I aimed at except that first man. But I stayed on my feet. I didn't freeze. And when Dante needed cover to reload, I provided it. Finally, the assault team retreated. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had finally called the police, or more likely, the police who weren't on Volkov's payroll had responded anyway. Dante called his lawyers, his cleaners, his network of corruption that would make this go away, and I sat on the floor next to Marcus's body and shook. An hour later, the penthouse was swarming with Dante's people. The bodies were gone. The evidence was being sanitized. The story was being crafted, and I was in the bathroom throwing up. Dante found me there, pulled my hair back, held me while I emptied my stomach. "I killed him," I said finally. "You saved me." "I killed a man, Dante." I looked at him and I pulled the trigger and I breathe. His arms came around me. "Elena, breathe." But I couldn't, because I kept seeing the man fall, kept seeing the hole in his chest, kept feeling the weight of the gun in my hand. This is what choosing you means. Killing, violence, blood that lasts, no comfort, no platitudes, just truth. "I should feel worse," I said. "I should be horrified, but all I feel is live," he finished. "I know. It's the adrenaline. Tomorrow it'll hit different." "How do you know?" "Because I remember my first kill." His voice was quiet. "I was 17. A man tried to kill my father. I shot him, and I felt powerful and sick and alive all at once." He turned me to face him. "It doesn't make you a monster, Elena, doesn't it?" "No, it makes you human. Complicated. Someone who did what was necessary to survive." I looked at him. This man I'd killed for, who'd protected me, who'd shown me the darkest parts of his world and somehow made me want to stay. "I can't go back," I said. "No. To who I was before. To normal, to safe. No. This is my life now. Violence and danger and me," he finished. "This is your life with me, if you want it. Do I have a choice?" "Always." "I told you that." He cupped my face. "You can still leave. New identity, new city. I'll make sure." "Elena, no." I grabbed his shirt, pulled him close. "I choose this. I choose you. I choose the violence and the danger and the terrible, beautiful truth of what we are." "What are we?" "Two people who've seen the worst of the world and each other and refused to look away." He kissed me then, desperate and claiming, and I tasted blood and smoke and something like redemption. When we broke apart, his forehead pressed against mine. "Marcus is dead because of me," he said. "Marcus is dead because Viktor Volkov sent killers to your home." "Same thing." "No, it's not. I made him pull that trigger. You didn't give that order. You're responsible for a lot, Dante Caruso, but you're not responsible for the evil other men choose." "You sound sure." "I am sure. Because I know the difference between a man who causes harm and a man who responds to it." I touched the scar on his ribs. "You're the second one. Brutal, yes. Violent, yes. But not evil." "How can you know that?" "Because evil doesn't grieve. Evil doesn't remember names. Evil doesn't break when good men die." He pulled me against him, and I felt the shudder go through him. "I'm going to destroy them," he whispered. "The Volkovs, everyone who had a hand in this, I'm going to burn their world to ash." "I know. And you'll hate me for it." "No," I pulled back, met his eyes. "I'll understand it. There's a difference. You're too good for this world." "No, I'm exactly right for yours." Outside, the city continued its morning routine. Inside, we held each other and planned for war. The retaliation was surgical and absolute. Over the next 72 hours, I watched Dante dismantle the Volkov empire piece by piece. Not with violence, though there was some of that, but with information, leverage, and the kind of ruthless efficiency that came from 2 decades in this life. Volkov front businesses suddenly failed health inspections. Shipments disappeared. Politicians who'd been on the payroll switched sides. Bank accounts froze. Safe houses were raided by the few honest cops left in the city. And through it all, Dante worked from the penthouse war room, coordinating operations like a general. I brought him coffee at 3 a.m. on the second night. He was staring at screens, circles under his eyes, exhaustion pulling at his features. "You need to sleep," I said. "I need to finish this." "You'll finish it better with rest." He looked at me, and something in his expression softened. How are you so calm? I'm not calm, I'm terrified. I set the coffee down. But I trust you. You shouldn't too late. He pulled me into his lap, buried his face in my neck. If this goes wrong, if Victor retaliates and I can't stop it, then we'll face it together. You have too much faith in me, maybe you have too little in yourself. We sat like that while the city slept and the war raged in digital spaces and back rooms. Finally, he said, it's almost over. One more move. What move? Victor's son, Alexei. He's been skimming from the family operations for years. I have proof. He showed me a file thick with documentation. If I release this to Victor, it tears the family apart from the inside. Will it end the war? Wes, then why do you sound uncertain? He was quiet for a long moment. Because Alexei has a daughter, 6 years old, and if I do this, Victor will kill his own son. And that little girl loses her father. The weight of it settled over us. What would happen if you don't release it? I asked. The war continues. More of my men die eventually, maybe they kill me. Or you. So it's her father or potentially dozens of people. Less. That's an impossible choice. Welcome to my world. I turned in his lap to face him. What do you want to do? Went. He laughed bitterly. I want to go back to when I was just a guy in a diner and you were just a waitress, and neither of us knew what the other was capable of. We can't go back. I know. He cupped my face. So I'm asking you, what would you do? The question shocked me. Why are you asking me? Because you see things I don't. Because you're not numb to this yet. Because I trust your judgment. I looked at the file, thought about Giuseppe's daughter, Marco's fiancé, Marcus's family, all the people who'd lost someone because of this war. Then I thought about a 6-year-old girl who didn't choose her father. Is there another way? I asked. Something that ends the war without killing Alexei. Dante's eyes sharpened. What are you thinking? You have proof he's stealing. What if you gave it to him instead of Victor? I don't follow. Leverage, you tell Alexei you have the proof. If he doesn't call off his father, you release it. If he cooperates, you keep his secret. Dante went very still. That could work. Alexei's ambitious. He'd sell out his father to save himself and position himself as the new head of family. And the war ends without more bloodshed. Without immediate bloodshed. Eventually Alexei will try to take power, and there will be conflict, but, he smiled slowly, by then we'll have alliances in place, protection, it buys us time. To do what? To build something different. Better. He kissed me softly. You're brilliant, you know that. I'm just trying to save a little girl's father. And in doing so, you might have saved us all. The meeting with Alexei happened the next morning at a neutral location, a parking garage, suitably cinematic and secure. Dante brought me. When his consigliere objected, Dante simply said, she's part of this now. She has a right to see it through. Alexei arrived with 2 bodyguards. He was younger than I expected, early 30s, expensive suit, fear poorly hidden behind bravado. Caruso, I don't have time for games, then I'll be brief. Dante slid the file across the table. Your embezzlement. Documented, dated. Enough to have your father put a bullet in your head. Alexei's face went white. This is accurate, detailed, and currently in multiple secure locations ready to be sent to Victor if anything happens to me or mine. What do you want? In this war, call off your father's vendetta. In return, this stays buried. I can't just... Yes, you can. Dante, and your father is old, losing influence. But you're smart, connected, ambitious. You could lead the family into legitimate business, build alliances instead of wars. Alexei's eyes flickered to me. And if I refuse? Then Victor kills you and I take over your territory anyway. But a lot more people die first. Dante's voice went soft, dangerous. Including your daughter. You wouldn't? I wouldn't. But your father would blame you for bringing this war to the family. And we both know what he does to traitors. Alexei looked at the file, at us, at the future branching before him. How do I know you'll keep your word? Because I don't want this war any more than you do. Dante stood. I want to build something, and I can't do that while fighting your father's pride. Finally, Alexei nodded. Give me a week, I'll handle Victor. You have 3 days. After they left, I turned to Dante. Will he do it? Yes, he's smart enough to know when he's beaten. Dante pulled me close. You did that. You found the solution I was too angry to see. We did it together. No. He kissed my forehead. You did it. You're better than all of us, Elena. Better than this world deserves. Stop putting me on a pedestal. I'm standing right here, covered in the same dirt as you, maybe. But you haven't let it stain you yet. Give it time. We drove back to the penthouse in silence. When we arrived, Downey's men were packing up the war room, dismantling the operation. Is it really over? I asked. For now. Wars don't end, they just pause. He took my hand. But we bought ourselves time. That's all we can ask for. That night, we stood on the balcony. They'd replaced the shattered windows with bulletproof glass, and looked out at the city. What happens now? I asked. No, we rebuild. Marcus's family gets taken care of. The businesses get back to normal. We strengthen alliances. And us. He turned to me, and in the dim light he looked younger. Less burdened. What do you want to happen with us? I stopped searching for truth. I want this. Complicated and dangerous and real. I want to stand beside you and make impossible choices and try to be better than what we're given. even knowing what it costs. Especially knowing that. He pulled me close, and we stood there wrapped around each other while the city sprawled below us, beautiful and brutal in ours. I love you, he said quietly. The words hung in the air, precious and terrifying. I love you too, I answered. God help us both. He won't. We're on our own. Then we'll have to be enough for each other. We made love that night with new windows that wouldn't shatter and old wounds that might never heal. It was desperate and tender and real. Two people who'd seen the worst and chosen each other anyway. After lying in the dark, Dante said, I can't promise you safety. I know. Or normal. I don't want normal. Or that this won't get worse before it gets better. I know that too. So what can I promise you? I thought about it. About the impossible choices and the beautiful moments and everything in between. Promise me truth. Promise me you'll come back when you can. Promise me we'll face whatever comes together. That I can do. He pulled me closer. All of it. Always. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was ours. Alexei kept his word. 3 days later, Viktor Volkov announced his retirement due to health concerns. Alexei took over family operations. The first thing he did was sign a non-aggression pact with Dante. The second thing he did was move his family out of the city. His smart, Dante said reading the report. Put distance between himself and his father's old allies. Makes it harder for them to use him. Or for you to change your mind about that file. That too. We were in the penthouse, but it felt different now. Less like a fortress, more like a home. Dante had started keeping books there, actual books, not just business ledgers. I'd added plants to the living room. Small changes that meant everything. I got a call today, I said. From a lawyer handling Rosie's estate. She's retiring. Wants to know if I'm interested in buying the diner. Dante looked up sharply. Are you? I don't know. It would be a reminder of where we started. Where everything changed. He came to where I stood by the window. What do you want to do? I want to rebuild it. Make it better. Maybe expand the menu, hire people who need a second chance. I looked at him. Use some of that money you keep throwing at me for something good. It's dangerous. Public exposed. Everything about my life now is dangerous. Fair point. He smiled. If that's what you want, I'll make it happen. Security. Renovations. Whatever you need. I don't want your money. How about my support? That I'll take. We stood there looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, the Volkovs were regrouping. Other families were watching, calculating whether Dante's apparent peace was weakness or strategy. The game never truly ended, but the war had paused. My cousin called, Dante said. Wants me to meet his daughter. She's getting married next month. That's nice. He wants me to bring you. As my, he paused. He didn't specify what to call you. What do you want to call me? Mine. Partner. The person who saved my life and my soul. He turned me to face him. Elena Reyes, who sees who I am and chooses to stay anyway. That's a mouthful for a wedding invitation. How about girlfriend? I laughed. We've killed people together and you want to call me your girlfriend? Fair point. Fiancé? My heart stopped. What? He didn't drop to one knee. That wasn't who he was. Instead, he just looked at me with those dark eyes and said, I don't have a ring yet. I wanted to ask first. Make sure you understood what you'd be agreeing to. Marriage to a mafia boss. Marriage to a man trying to be better than his father. Who runs legitimate businesses alongside the family operations. Who wants to build something that lasts. He took my hands. I can't promise you easy, but I can promise you realist. Forever in this life is uncertain, dangerous, I know. He pulled me closer. But I've lived 33 years without you, and I don't want to spend another day not knowing you're mine in every way that matters. Dante, if you need time, I understand. If you want to wait until things are more stable, that makes sense. If you want to say no, I kissed him to shut him up. When we broke apart, I said, yes, you need time. Yes, I'll marry you, you idiot. His smile could have lit the city. Really. Though I reserve the right to change my mind when I see what kind of ridiculous ring you pick out. It won't be ridiculous, it'll be perfect. He kissed me again. Like you? I'm not perfect? No, you're better. You're real. The wedding was 6 months later. Small, private, in the garden of the Caruso family estate. Only people we trusted. People who'd proven their loyalty with blood and sacrifice. I wore cream instead of white. We were past pretending either of us was pure. Downey wore a suit that probably cost more than the wedding. But he couldn't stop smiling, so I forgave him the excess. The ceremony was short. Traditional vows felt wrong, so we wrote our own. I promise to stand beside you, I said. In violence and in peace. In darkness and in light. To see you as you are and love you anyway. I promise to protect you, he said. To be honest with you. To give you choices even when I want to make them for you. To love you until my last breath and beyond. We exchanged rings, mine was emeralds, his family stone. His was platinum, simple and strong. When the priest said we could kiss, Dandy cupped my face and whispered, thank you. For what? For choosing this. For choosing me. Always. The reception was louder, fuller. Danny's extended family, his business associates. The line between legitimate and criminal blurring until it didn't matter. I danced with the underboss, who told me stories about Dante as a teenager. I laughed with the consigliere's wife, who welcomed me to the life. With knowing sympathy. I held Giuseppe's daughter, now 4, who called me Auntie Alina, and I watched Dante move through the crowd. This man who'd killed for me and loved me and somehow managed to be both monster and savior. Late in the evening, the party continued behind us, but we needed air, space, moment to breathe. No regrets, he asked. About marrying you? No, I leaned against him. About the life sometimes, but not enough to leave. What do you regret? That people had to die for us to find each other. That Marcus and Giuseppe and Marco can't be here. That your world requires so much sacrifice. Me too. He was quiet for a moment. I'm trying to change that. The family operations. Moving more into legitimate business. It'll take years, maybe decades, but you're trying. That's what matters. Is it enough? I thought about the diner I'd bought and renovated. About the people I'd hired, ex-cons and foster kids and anyone who needed a second chance. About the small good we could do in the midst of so much darkness. It's a start, I said. That's all anyone can ask for. We stood there while the night deepened and the party roared and our future stretched ahead, uncertain and dangerous in ours. I love you, Elena Caruso, he said. The name still felt strange, new. Like trying on a different life. But I was learning to inhabit it. I love you too, Dante Caruso. I turned in his arms. Now take me home. I says home now. No. I smiled. Home is wherever we are, together. Facing whatever comes. Even if what comes is more war. Even then. We walked back to the party hand in hand. This waitress and this mafia boss who'd saved each other in a diner full of death and somehow built a life from the ashes. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I served him coffee that first night. It was better. Because it was real. Ipalu 1 year later, I stood in Rosie's Corner Diner, rebuilt, renamed Elena's Haven, and poured coffee for the morning rush. The menu had expanded, the staff had tripled. But the core remained the same, a place where people could come and be seen, be safe, be human. Dante sat in the corner booth, reading the paper like a normal person. His security was discreet now, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. The Volkovs kept their distance. Other families had learned the price of targeting us. And slowly, carefully, Dante was building something different. Businesses that didn't rely on violence, alliances built on mutual benefit rather than fear. It wasn't perfect, it never would be, but it was ours. More coffee? I asked, stopping at his booth. He looked up and smiled, the smile that was only for me. Always. I poured, and our fingers brushed. The touch still sent electricity through me, even after a year of marriage. Busy day, I asked. Meeting with the mayor, dinner with the Japanese delegation, home by 8. Promise. Promise. I believed him, not because he never broke promises he had when situations demanded it. But because he always came back, always chose us, always found his way home. The bell above the door chimed. A young woman walked in, looked around nervously. I recognized that look, the hunted expression of someone running from something. I grabbed a menu and approached. Sit anywhere you like. Coffee, she nodded, sat in booth 7. I poured her coffee, added extra cream without asking, and said quietly, "You're safe here. Whatever you're running from, you're safe here." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "How did you? I've been where you are. I know the look." I slid a business card across the table, not for the diner, for the shelter Dante and I funded. "Call this number if you need help. They'll ask for you by name and get you somewhere safe." "I don't understand." "Why would you?" "Because someone helped me once, and now I help others. That's how it works." She took the card with shaking hands. I walked back to Dante's booth. He'd been watching the exchange, and the pride in his eyes made my heart ache. "Another one?" he asked quietly. "Another one? You're going to save the whole city at this rate?" "No. Just the ones I can reach." I slid into the booth beside him. "The ones who need to know that there's hope. That you can survive the worst and still build something good." He pulled me close, kissed my temple. "I love you, Elena Caruso. Have I mentioned that today? Twice. But I don't mind hearing it again. I love you. For your strength, your heart, your stubborn refusal to give up on broken things, like you, especially like me." We sat there in the diner where everything changed, watching the morning rush and planning for tomorrow and being impossibly, perfectly alive. The life wasn't easy, but it was real, and it was ours.